Fernandes STALLS contract talks, heartbreak for Juventus, Barca won Alaba, a transfer roundup, plus this week's great debate, all coming up on today's OneFootball Daily News. As I'm your host Angelina Kelly, let's get into it. First up, and could Bruno Fernandes be weighing up a move away from Manchester United? Now, I highly doubt it, but he is stalling on contract negotiations. Of course, ever since he arrived at the club, he has made such a massive impact. He really did burst onto the scene. And in his first full season, he already has an impressive 23 goals and 13 assists. He's arguably the most important player for the club. So naturally, with him being such a talent, other clubs have reportedly been interested, and what this means is that the Reds are looking at a new long-term deal for the player. United have approached Fernandes about a W money £200,000 a week 5-year contract. But the playmaker does have some conditions before he puts pen to paper, and these reportedly focus around the club's intentions in the transfer market. Now, it's not been a terrible season for Manchester United. They are currently in second place in the Premier League, but they do desperately need some reinforcements. Now, I'm sure Bruno Fernandes does enjoy being the star of the show, but like I say, they need some new signings, especially with these rumours that Edinson Cavani could be departing from the club. And if this means that they're going to be back at the top of their game competing for silverware, then they do need to make some signings. Of course, last week, manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did come out warning fans not to get too excited about a big summer spending spree, of course because of the financial implications of the COVID-19 pandemic. But Bruno Fernandes does want reassurance from the boardroom that the club are moving in the right direction. They do want to make these signings and they will be back on top, not only domestically but in Europe. At the end of the day, like I say, he is arguably their most important player, so I'm sure the powers that be at Manchester United will be working overtime on those contract negotiations to get it done. Next up, and it was an evening of highs and lows in the Champions League. So let's kick things off with the lows. Juventus, they have crashed out once again in the Champions League in the round of 16 stage. They only needed a 1-0 victory at home against Porto, and it didn't happen even when Porto went down to 10 men. Let's face it, Juventus were not at their best, and props to Porto for getting the job done, going through on away goals and doing what they needed to do. I'm sure that everybody looking at the stars in that Juventus team expected so much more, and of course all eyes were on Cristiano Ronaldo, who didn't actually manage to get a touch in the Porto half in the first half of the game. Of course, it's not all Ronaldo's fault, but his Champions League dream is once again over. Of course, the main reason that he moved to Juventus was supposedly to help them win the Champions League, and in the 3 years that he's been there, they crashed out in the quarter-finals against Ajax, they crashed out in the round of 16 against Lyon, and again this season against Porto. And it's led a lot of people to ask the question, has this move been successful for Juventus and Cristiano Ronaldo? Has this been a failure? Although you can't really put all of the blame on Cristiano Ronaldo, it's not up to him to carry the entire team. But a big shout out to Federico Chiesa, who despite the result had a magnificent breakout performance. Things are not looking good for Juventus. They've even got Fabio Capello on their back, who has come out saying that the performance last night was completely unforgivable, and he's called out a lot of the stars for not getting the job done like they needed to. And yeah, things aren't great. At the end of the day, you look at the league, they're 10 points behind leaders Inter Milan. They're now out of the Champions League. Yes, they have the Coppa Italia final, but is that enough to satisfy fans? I'm not too sure. Meanwhile, it was a great night for Dortmund, who beat Sevilla 5-4 on aggregate in Europe. And it was an extra special night for Erling Haaland, who, you guessed it, he's broken another record. He has become the quickest player to reach 20 Champions League goals, as he's done so in only his 14th appearance in the competition. The game also saw Haaland become the first player ever to score twice in 4 consecutive games in the tournament. The player is absolutely unstoppable at the moment, and his first goal was pretty much scored with his first touch. The second goal was a little bit more dramatic, I must admit, so it was ruled out by VAR. Then they were awarded a penalty. Haaland then missed the penalty, but they were awarded the penalty again because Bono, Sevilla's goalkeeper, was apparently off his line. So Haaland then scored, but he then began to taunt the goalkeeper because apparently he laughed that he missed the first penalty. I'm not too sure what was going on there, but at the end of the day, it was a great result for Dortmund and a fantastic result for Erling Haaland, who has once again pretty much proven that he is the best player in Europe at the moment. Next up, and since Barcelona have their new president in Joan Laporta, there are reportedly some rumours that he is set to poach David Alaba from Real Madrid. Representatives of David Alaba reportedly met with Laporta last week, and he does apparently have a very good relationship with one of these representatives. Now, before he was crowned president, he said to them, "Don't make any moves with Real Madrid, wait until I'm president and then we can talk." So apparently, verbal negotiations have already begun. The representatives have said, "We haven't signed anything with Real Madrid, don't worry, we are interested." So who knows what could happen now that Laporta is officially president. Now, Laporta has come out saying that he did not directly meet with any of the representatives, but this doesn't mean that he hasn't spoken to them, and reportedly talks about numbers will be getting underway, as at the end of the day this is going to be the big thing, Alaba's salary. Now, this does mean that Barcelona will maybe have to chop and change a few things, maybe sell one or two players, but at the end of the day they're getting two players for one really, because they'll have a player in Alaba that can work in that central defence and as a left back as well, and this will be really, really vital for the club. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens and what Alaba decides to do, because it did seem like Real Madrid was his dream and where he was heading, but when Barcelona do come knocking at the door, it is hard to ignore them. Now, another player on the list is of course Sergio Aguero. Now, Pep Guardiola has reportedly said that he wants to try and convince Aguero to stay. Why so late on in the season, I'm not too sure. He didn't play him in that Manchester derby that they lost. He has had so many injuries, etc. And if a contract hasn't been negotiated by now, I can't really see it happening. And especially with Barcelona, like I say, knocking at the door, it is going to be hard for Aguero to ignore that one. Again, salary would be a bone of contention, but the club do feel that he could be a good replacement for Luis Suarez. Now, I don't think he's at that level with Luis Suarez, as of course he has had so many injury issues, but also, his really good relationship with Messi could be another reason why they are looking at the player. Who knows where Aguero will head? Let us know in the comment section what you guys think, but it seems like all systems are go now that Barcelona have their new president. And now we've got our transfer roundup. This is where I take a look at some of the other news and transfers going on in the footballing world. And first up, Joachim Löw, Germany's manager, he has said that he will step down from his position in the summer after the Euros. Up in Scotland, Celtic have sounded out David Moyes apparently about taking over the position there. Over at Real Madrid, it seems like they've got a keen eye on Manchester City's Riyad Mahrez. And finally, of course, with all of the David De Gea rumours, it seems like Dean Henderson will take over, but the club are also keeping an eye on Atletico Madrid's Jan Oblak. And last but not least, it is of course the OneFootball Great Debate. This is where the OneFootball Newsroom pose a question to all of you guys in the comment section below, and you can check out the Newsroom's answers to the question and mine in an article on the OneFootball app. So, the question this week, who are the worst Premier League champions? Now, this is looking at title defences really, and for me personally, just as a Manchester United fan, it's got to be the 2013-14 season. Now, of course, the season before, it was Fergie's final season, things were great, we won the league by 11 points, then David Moyes was appointed and people actually went into it pretty optimistic, and how wrong we were. It was an absolute shambles. Moyes, of course, was kicked out by April and Manchester United ended up finishing 7th. However, there are so many other clubs that you could include in this one. A special shout out to Chelsea in the 2015-16 season. Of course, it was Mourinho's second spell at Stamford Bridge. They won the league comfortably by a 9-point margin, and then the next season, it just completely went out the window, and they were actually lucky to finish in the top half of the league, and they ended up just about finishing there in 10th. But you guys let us know in the comment section below what you think about the Great Debate question, and of course check out all the other content that we have got here at OneFootball. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all later.